Today we're going to be looking at 4.3b. Now part 2 of 4.3 looks at something called complex fractions. So if we look at example 1, this is a complex fraction. We have a big fraction, and then our numerators are smaller fraction, the denominator are smaller fraction. And so our whole goal is to simplify to one fraction. So we have this very ugly fraction, and we want to make it into a nicer looking fraction. Now, this piece here tells us when simplifying, the first step we always do is find the least common denominator for all of the fractions. So we have to find the least common denominator of all the fractions. So looking at example 1, I'm going to highlight all of my denominators. X is my denominator for x and 8. And so looking at that, I'm asking myself, what is the least common denominator? Well, I'm looking at all of these. I see that some of them have an x, so we're going to need an x. And then I have a 4 or an 8. And so when I'm finding the least common denominator, I'm actually finding the largest thing. So that's going to be 8x. So I ask myself, can I divide 8x by x? Yes. Can I divide 8x by 4x? Yes. Can I divide 8x by 8? Yes. So again, I need all of my pieces. I need an x, and then I need an 8. Because 4 goes into 8, so I don't need a 4. What I'm going to do now is multiply all of my mini fractions. So this mini fraction I'm going to multiply by 8x. This mini fraction I'm going to multiply by 8x. And this mini fraction I'm going to multiply by 8x. And what happens is here, the x and the x cross out. The 8 and the 8 cross out. And then x crosses out, and then 4 into 8 gives me a 2. So notice all the denominators go away. Let's see what crosses out. The 6 goes into 12 twice. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 2 goes into 12 6 times. Did all of our denominators cross out? Yes, they did. So what do we have on top? 2 times 5x is 10x. 6 times x is 6x. 3 times 3x, 9x. I get 10x over 15x. The x is reduced. And here I get 2 over 3. Let's look at example 4. Make sure to put all of your whole numbers over 1. Go ahead and write down what is your LCD. I'm looking at 3 and 1, so that's going to be 3. Now multiply all the many fractions, every single one of them, by 3. These 3's get to cross out. Nothing here, nothing here. These 3's cross out. Write out what you feel like you have left in the numerator. Here I have x squared, and then here I have 3 times 3, so minus 9. From the bottom, this one, I have x plus 3. I notice at this top here is a difference of squares. So I can factor x minus 3, x plus 3. And then my x plus 3's divide out. And so my answer is x minus 3. Go ahead and pause the video so that the students can try number 5. Now that you've had time to try number 5, our least common denominator is, my denominators are 5. These denominators are 1. So it's going to be 5 times all of them by 5. So these 5's reduce, these 5's reduce, not there. So here I'm left with x squared minus 5 times 5 is 25 over, this one is an x, 1 times 5, so minus 5. Again, on the top here, I have a difference of squares. That factors to x minus 5, x plus 5. Those divide out, so I'm left with x plus 5. Go ahead and pause the video so that they can try number 6. Now that you've had time to try number 6, least common denominator. These are over 1. If I used 4, if I times this by 4, would this whole denominator cross out? No, I'd be left with a 4 here. So we need to go bigger than 4. So our least common denominator is going to be 16. So we're going to multiply all of these fractions by 16. The 16 crosses out to 16. 4 into 16 is 4. That's 1 and 16, 1 and 16. Okay, so I have 16x minus 1 times 4 is 4 over, here I have 16x squared minus 1. Can I factor anything? On the top, I have a GCF. On the bottom, I have a difference of squares. Go ahead and factor those. On the top, I'm going to take out my GCF of 4. So I'm going to get 16 divided with, so that's 4x minus 4 divided by 4 is 1. Difference of squares. Square root of 16x squared, that's 4x and 4x. Square root of 1, 1 and 1, 1 plus, 1 minus. These divide out, so I'm left with 4 over 4x plus 1. And these 4's do not cross out because we have the 4's attached to the x here. So, and we have this plus 1, so those don't cross out. You have a binomial on the bottom and just a monomial on top. You can't cross things out unless you factor out a GCF. The last two examples are going to be a review. For example 7, I noticed that there's a symbol. So when we're doing division, we're thinking keep what change. So we're going to keep the first. Flip the second. And change to multiplication. Now go ahead, and our next step is to factor. So go ahead and pause the video so that they can factor all the different pieces. Now that you've had time to factor, let's see what the factors, the top's the difference of squares. So I have x, square root of 4, 2, 2, 1 plus, 1 minus. The bottom here is a trinomial, so we're going to have to guess and check. These first two I want to multiply to 2x squared, so that's going to be 2x and x. And then I want a negative 1. If I put a 3 here, that'll give me 6x and x. That won't work. If I put a 3 here and a 1 here, this will give me minus 3x plus 2x. That gives me minus x. Times, here I have a GCF of 3. See, 6 divided by 2, so that's a 2x minus 1. And then I'm an x minus 2. What crosses out? The x minus 2 and the x minus 2. Nothing else. So I'm left with 3, 2x minus 1, x plus 2, over 2x minus 3 times x plus 1. For number 8, this is a subtraction problem. So when I'm thinking of subtraction, I need a common denominator. So we need to factor both denominators to see what factors there are. See, x and x, what multiplies to 3, 3 and 1. I need a negative 3, so I need this one negative, that one positive. Negative 3, positive 1 gives me negative 2. What multiplies to 12, and then we're subtracting the 1, so let's do 4 and 3. I want a positive 1, so positive 4 minus 3, that gives me a positive 1. And so this is when we look and see what I have on the left. I have an x minus 3, x plus 1. What do I have on the right? X plus 4, x minus 3. I'm going to zoom out just a second. So the right has an x minus 3, but not an x plus 4, so I'm going to have to multiply by x plus 4. And the right has an x minus 3, x plus 4, but not an x plus 1. Okay, so on the left, we're multiplying by x plus 4. On the right, we're multiplying by x plus 1. So I get 3 times x plus 4 over 4 x minus 3 x plus 1 minus 5 times x plus 1 over 4 x minus 3 x plus 1. So what do we get? Now we distribute. So I get 3x plus 12. Remember, this is a negative 5, so I get negative 5x minus 5. Write down the denominator. (3x minus 5x), negative 2x. 12 minus 5, positive 7, over x plus 4, x minus 3, x plus 1. I can't factor the top, so we are finished.